Welcome to the CheckRare Brief, your weekly roundup of the biggest developments in rare disease.
Each week, we'll explain why those stories matter, not just to one specialty, but across the entire rare disease community.
Whether discussing the latest clinical trials, conference highlights, or updates from the FDA, we're here to help you stay up to date and in just a few minutes. I'm James Radke.
I'm Peter Ciszewski.
And I'm Madaline Spencer. This is the CheckRare Brief. There are more than 10,000 rare diseases. Every week brings new clinical trials, FDA decisions, scientific publications, conference presentations, and patient advocacy initiatives. Keeping up with it all has become nearly impossible.
That's exactly why we created the CheckRare Brief. Our goal isn't simply to report the news. There are plenty of those places to find headlines. Our goal here is to explain why the news matters, identify the bigger trends, and connect the dots across the rare disease community.
Whatever your relation is to rare diseases, be it a physician, researcher, industry professional, patient advocate, or someone living with a rare disease, we hope you'll come away each week with a better understanding of where the field is heading.
Our first story focuses on Capricor Therapeutics. Last week, an FDA advisory committee voted against recommending approval of the company's investigational therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, creating uncertainty ahead of the FDA's upcoming decision. Why is this important?
The advocacy committee voted 9-3 not to approve Duramycil to treat cardiomyopathy and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This is a rare muscle disorder. The heart is a muscle, so it is important that they have treatment options to keep the heart as healthy as possible. One misconception is that the orphan drug designation lowers the bar for FDA approval. That is not the case. These drugs still have to show that they are safe, effective, and manufactured properly. The advisory committee didn't think that was the case. However, with the advisory board is only one factor whether a therapy gets approved. We will find out August 18th, the PDUFA date, whether the FDA approves this therapy or not.
And why should someone outside of the Duchenne community care about this?
Because this story is much bigger than Duchenne. Every company developing therapies for rare diseases watches FDA decisions like this because they influence regulatory expectations, investment, and ultimately how future therapies are evaluated.
Our next story looks at something that extends well beyond hematology, where the study originated. New research is exploring cognitive decline in patients with immune thrombocytopenia, or ITP, highlighting how symptoms outside the primary disease can have a significant impact on patients' quality of life.
This is a really important study. Dr. David Kuter of Harvard Medical School looked at cognitive decline, or brain fog, that occurs in patients with ITP. It's fairly common. 25 to 40% of patients tend to have this symptom, and they don't know why that is. But it is also a fairly common symptom in a lot of chronic conditions. A good example is actually Fabry disease. But it is difficult to distinguish if these symptoms or this brain fogginess is due to the disease, due to the treatment, due to the chronic nature of the conditions that impact cognitive decline, aging, or a combination of all of these factors. The old adage, correlation is not causation, should be advised here. But that does not take away from the fact that these patients are really, really suffering, and we need to address that.
And why should someone outside of this specialty care about this?
With most rare conditions, especially autoimmune or genetic conditions, multiple systems are involved, and we cannot forget that. One thing we've learned in rare disease is that these conditions rarely stay within one specialty. That's why collaboration between physicians is so important and why we believe stories like this have relevance far beyond hematology. Most of the studies we publish in CheckRare tend to be about one condition, but they are relevant to numerous different specialists.
Finally, August marks Spinal Muscular Atrophy Awareness Month. Jim, can you provide a brief overview of SMA?
Absolutely. SMA is a rare genetic condition due to mutations in the SMN1 gene. Interestingly, from an evolutionary point of view, we have a backup plan, SMN2 gene, that can actually do the job of keeping the spinal muscles healthy. And the severity of the condition actually depends on the number of factors, but more importantly, the number of copies of that SMN2 gene. And it's also where most treatments are targeted. Many children with type 2 or type 3 SMA are born looking healthy, but as they grow, the atrophy begins, and most are in a wheelchair by the time they're in elementary school or high school if they don't have treatment. Fortunately, many treatment options are now available for these patients. Peter, do you want to expand on that? And August being SMA Awareness Month.
SMA Awareness Month is a reminder of just how much progress has been made with this specific rare disease. Just a decade ago, the outlook for many children with SMA was dramatically different than it is today. Back then, a diagnosis of type 1 SMA, the most severe form, meant the patient was told to go home and hug their child. There were few treatment options available. Today, the landscape looks dramatically different. It's one of the best examples of how scientific innovation, advocacy organizations, clinicians, industry, and families can work together to completely change the course of a rare disease. Awareness months aren't just about raising awareness, they're an opportunity to recognize just how far we've come while remembering there's still a lot of work to be done.
Before we wrap up, here's what we'll be watching this week. The FDA is expected to make several important regulatory decisions in the next week or two, including the DMD drug discussed earlier in this episode. We'll be following those decisions closely. We'll also continue to monitor new research, conference presentations, and policy developments from across the rare disease community.
The headlines may change each week, but our mission stays the same: to help you understand what's happening across the rare disease community.
If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join us next week for another edition of the CheckRare Brief.